Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Armageddon. Today we're going to be featuring a Brawl deck with Yorvo, Lord of Garenbrig, as our commander, as part of our series of Brawl videos featuring commanders from Throne of Eldraine. Yorvo is part of a cycle of rare legendary creatures, one in each color, whose mana cost included 3 pips of their respective color. We've already featured Brawl decks with the other legendary creatures of this cycle: Linden Steadfast Queen, Gadwick the Wizened, Ayara First of Locthwain, and Torbran Thane of Red Fell. And all 5 of these creatures were strong in Eldraine Limited. Like Questing Beast in our previous Brawl video, Yorvo doesn't synergize with any specific archetype, other than that you want to be playing lots of creatures to go with him. Although I guess you could have him in a +1/+1 counters archetype. His strength is that he is an above-rate creature that gets bigger the more green creatures you play while he is on the battlefield. I've built this deck around the theme of creatures with 4 or more power, which was a mechanic in the set Khans of Tarkir called Ferocious. Now unfortunately, this build of the deck doesn't feature any cards from the new set Duskmourn House of Horror. There were a few cards I considered, but several of them required Delirium in order to be good, which this deck is not good at enabling, and the other options just didn't seem to synergize with the deck's game plan better than the cards I'd already chosen for the deck. As always, I've broken the deck down into different categories. First, let's look at our mana acceleration. We have access to all of green's many ramp creatures and spells, and we're playing lots of them in this deck. We have all the mana accelerants available at 1 mana on Arena in order to try and get Yorvo in play as early as turn 2. The classic Birds of Paradise made available in the Bloomburrow Commander expansion, Delighted Halfling, Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Elves, and Utopia Sprawl. At 2 mana, Elysian Caryatid makes 2 mana of any one color if we have a big creature in play, while Incubation Druid can make 3 mana if it has a +1/+1 counter on it. We're playing Snow Basics for Into the North to search 1 up and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Leafkin Druid makes 2 mana if we have at least 4 creatures in play, while Sculptor of Winter ramps us by untapping a snowland. Wolf Willow Haven, meanwhile, can be sacrificed late in the game to make a wolf token if we no longer need it for ramp. Of the ramp artifacts at 2 mana, we're playing Arcane Signet and Cold Steel Heart because they can add green mana, and Emerald Medallion to discount our spells. Entish Restoration sacrifices a land to put 2 lands on the battlefield tapped, but if we have a big creature in play, fetches 3 lands instead. Heraldic Banner increases all of our creatures' power in addition to ramping us. Goreclaw, Terror of Kalsisma, has 4 power for our synergies, discounts many of our creature spells, and buffs our big creatures when she attacks. Defiler of Vigor effectively discounts our green permanent spells by letting us spend Phyrexian mana to cast them, and puts +1/+1 counters on all our creatures when we cast a green permanent spell. Finally, Primeval Titan searches up 2 lands when it enters or attacks, and puts them onto the battlefield tapped. Next, we have creatures that get bigger whenever we play creatures that are bigger than them. At 1 mana, there's Ascendant Pack Leader, which gets bigger when we cast spells of mana value 4 or greater. Evolving Adaptive, and Pelt Collector, which gets Trample if it has at least 3 +1/+1 counters on it. At 2 mana, there's Crunch Wrangler, Quirion Beastcaller, which gets a +1/+1 counter when we cast a creature spell, and moves its counters when it dies, and Sharp-Eyed Rookie, which also makes clue tokens whenever it gets a +1/+1 counter. Next, we have our Ferocious creatures with power 4 or greater, that aren't in a different category. There's Lovestruck Beast, which creates a 1/1 human token with its adventure, and can attack only if we control a 1/1 creature. Prowling Serpapard, which can't be countered, and makes it so that our creature spells can't be countered. And Old Growth Troll, which turns into an aura that enchants a land when it dies, that can later be sacrificed to make a 4/4 troll token. Steel Leaf Champion can't be blocked by small creatures, while Colossal Rattleworm is a huge creature for only 4 mana, and we do have 1 desert in the deck to give it flash. Nullhide Ferox has hexproof and is put directly onto the battlefield if we would otherwise discard it, while Ulvenwald Oddity can be transformed into Ulvenwald Behemoth, which buffs all our other creatures and gives them trample and haste. Challenger Troll makes it very difficult for the opponent to profitably block our big creatures, while Battle Mammoth can be foretold and lets us draw a card whenever the opponent targets our creatures with spells or abilities. Railway Brawler can be plotted to cast it for free the following turn, and effectively doubles the power and toughness of any creature that subsequently enters. Surak and Goreclaw gives all our other creatures trample, and puts a +1/+1 counter on our creatures when they enter and gives them haste. Zopandrel Hunger Dominus doubles the power and toughness of our creatures during combat, both on our turn and on the opponent's turn, while Galta Primal Hunger can often be cast for just 2 green mana in this deck. Our next category are our spells that provide card advantage. When Garruk's Uprising enters, we draw a card if we have a big creature in play, and once it is in play, we draw a card whenever a big creature enters. It also gives our creatures trample. Outcaster Trailblazer draws a card whenever a big creature enters, while Garruk's Harbinger puts an additional creature into our hand from our library when it hits the opponent. Guardian Project draws a card whenever any creature enters, while Nylea Keen-Eyed, who also gives all our creature spells a discount, has an activated ability that lets us look at the top card of our library and put it into our hand if it is a creature. Elder Gargaroth draws a card when it attacks or blocks, or can gain its life or make a beast token. Oherkozlum, Deepest Growth, puts a land and a creature directly onto the battlefield when it hits the opponent, and when it dies, turns into a land that can transform back into the creature half. When Rootless Yew dies, we can search up another big creature, while Soul of the Harvest draws a card whenever a non-token creature enters. Vaultborn Tyrant gains 3 life and draws a card whenever it or another big creature enters, and makes a token copy of itself when it dies. Last March of the Ents can't be countered, and can draw a lot of cards, and put all of the creatures in our hand directly into play. Finally, the Great Henge draws a card when any non-token creature enters, and puts a +1/+1 counter on it, taps to add 2 green mana, and gains 2 life when we do, and can be cast for cheap if we have a big creature in play. Our next category are our removal spells. Blizzard Brawl makes one of our creatures fight an opposing creature, and makes that creature indestructible if we have at least 3 snow permanents in play. When the new Hunter's Talent from Bloomburrow enters, it acts as removal, and it can be leveled up to buff an attacking creature and eventually draw additional cards. Gemrazor can be mutated onto a creature to destroy an artifact or enchantment, while Silverback Elder can destroy an artifact or enchantment, among other things, whenever we cast a creature spell. Stormkeld Vanguard has an adventure, Bear Down, that destroys an artifact or enchantment, while Kogla the Titan Ape fights an opposing creature when he enters, and can destroy an artifact or enchantment when he attacks. Titan of Industry can destroy an artifact or enchantment when it enters, among other modes. And finally, the Tarask fights an opposing creature when it attacks, and has haste and ward 10 if we cast it from our hand. Finally, in a category all by itself, we have Heroic Intervention to protect our creatures against sweepers. Looking at our mana base, we are playing many snow-covered forests, which lets us play Faceless Haven as a creature land. We also have Fabled Passage and Prismatic Vista to search up our basic lands and thin out the deck. We also have several utility lands. Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, can create 2/2 bear tokens, while Boseiju, Who Endures, can be channeled to destroy an artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land. Castle Garenbrig provides ramp for our creature spells, while Gate to Mannerborn seeks a non-land card late in the game. Hash Up Oasis can be sacrificed to buff one of our creatures, while Lair of the Hydra is another creature land that can close out games in a hurry if we have lots of mana. Memorial to Unity can be sacrificed to find a creature in the top 5 cards of our library, while Bonder's Enclave can draw a card if we have a big creature in play. Haunted Fengraf returns a random creature card from our graveyard to our hand, while Nykthos Shrine to Nyx can add a lot of extra mana, particularly if Yorvo is in play. And finally, Plaza of Heroes and Tyrite Sanctum can protect Yorvo or another key creature. So that's our Yorvo deck. Now it's time to take it into the queue and play some games. Okay, on the draw facing Atraxa Praetor's Voice. If we can get enough big creatures into play, we might be able to beat down an opponent despite them having a lifelinking Death Touch commander, with Vigilance no less. And then we only have 2 lands, but we are in the draw, and we've got some ramp, so I think we'll keep this. And then it's either Pelt Collector or Lovestruck Beast on 1. The Heart's Desire Adventure on Lovestruck Beast, I mean. You could consider playing a creature like Thorn Mammoth in this deck. That's also a creature that fights opposing creatures, and it's big. Nylea is a great addition with Yorvo, because if Nylea, Yorvo, and any other green permanent is in play, Nylea is a creature, because Yorvo adds 3 devotion. Ugh, Authority of the Consuls. Well, we drew our land. We'll have to hope for artifact or enchantment removal. So we can get rid of that Authority of the Consuls. Although the only card that really nullifies is Suruk and Goreclaw. Opponent plays Tireless Provisioner. So they'll be able to play Atraxa next turn. So we've got 4 mana. I could play Nylea, although she doesn't discount Yorvo or Pelt Collector. So I think it's Pelt Collector and Yorvo, and I think I play it in that order. No attacks. And then Hunter's Talent can remove Atraxa. Opponent plays Radagast the Brown. Finds Hostage Taker. Alright, so I could play Nylea if I wanted to get an attack in, but I think what I want to do is not give the opponent extra targets for their hostage taker. So we'll Wolf Willow Haven and sacrifice a land to get 3 lands with Interest Restoration. No attacks. Opponent plays Hostage Taker. Alright, so they take Yorvo, so I think we return Yorvo to the command zone. And that way we don't have to use Hunter's Talent on Hostage Taker, we can save it for Atraxa. Opponent attacks with Radagast, no blocks. We draw a land. Alright, so we're working with 2, 6, 7, 8 mana. So I could play Nylea and then Yorvo, but I think I want to start putting +1/+1 counters on Yorvo. So I think we'll play Yorvo and Lovestruck Beast. This also puts +1/+1 counters on Pelt Collector. Alright, Pelt Collector. Opponent can double block with Hostage Taker and Tireless Provisioner, and I only kill one of them, so the Pelt Collector doesn't really have attacks here. Uh-oh. Alright, so now we will need to Hunter's Talent Hostage Taker. Okay, we get Pelt Collector back. And then we have 7 mana. I think we activate Hunter's Talent to give a creature trample and play Challenger Troll. And we'll give Yorvo trample. Alright. Opponent is missing blue mana for Sludge Monster and Atraxa. They flicker Radagast, don't have any plays. Finds Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines. We do have some enter abilities, so Elesh Norn is going to be a bit of a problem. And then We can level up Hunter's Talent and play Nylea in second main phase, so we'll attack. Although I guess I should have played Nylea first to pump Yorvo. We could be doing 1 extra point of damage. So opponent should be at 9. We draw a query on Beast Caller. Alright, opponent plays Elish Norn. And that's good enough for opponent. Alright. Like I thought at the beginning, we needed to get some big beefy creatures down to overpower the opponent. They also got land screwed there. They were missing blue mana after they chumped with the, what do you call it, Tireless Provisioner. So they might have wanted to have not done that so that they could have kept casting blue spells. So we definitely lucked out there, but we'll take it. On we go. On the play, facing Muxus Goblin Grandee. So not sure what to expect. I think this is the first time that I remember ever facing Muxus. Anyway, it'll be Goblin Synergy. I think we can keep this. Pelt Collector on 1, Wolfwillow Haven on 2. Gemrazor is good to mutate on Yorvo, because Yorvo is all +1/+1 counters, so with Gemrazor on Yorvo, he becomes a 4/4 with all those +1/+1 counters. Opponent has no turn 1 play. So, unless we draw another 1-drop, we won't be the most mana efficient. I guess we can play Guardian Project then. No attacks with Pelt Collector. So that was a good draw. And then we can destroy Mind Stone with Gemrazor. I think we don't draw land. And then, am I happy trading Pelt Collector for Enterprising Scallywag? Oh, that could just be activating Mind Stone. Old Steelheart. Would have preferred a land. Yeah, I think we will offer the trade. Opponent does not trade. So hoping to draw land. Opponent could play Muxus next turn if they hit another land. Legion Warboss. Okay. So not drawing a land is unfortunate. Gemrazor gives Trample, so that's good on Yorvo. So unfortunately, I could play Cold Steel Heart and Sharp-Eyed Rookie, and that would be the most mana efficient. but opponent can play Muxus next turn if they hit a land, so I think I want to destroy Mind Stone with Gem Razor. And we want to put Gem Razor over. Opponent can sacrifice Mind Stone to draw a card, but they don't. And the only downside with mutating Gem Razor is Pelt Collector doesn't grow. And then red will have a hard time taking out an 8/8. We also don't draw a card off Guardian Project. So we could be stuck to playing Cold Steelheart, Sharp-Eyed Rookie next turn. Indeed, that's our only play next turn anyway, even if we do draw a land. Because we don't have anything else to play for 5 mana. Sharp-Eyed Rookie also does not grow Pelt Collector, and apparently a big 8/8 is good enough for opponent. We'll take it. On we go. On the draw, only 2 lands, but we do have Llanowar Elves and Arcane Signet for ramp. Guardian Project will be good, so we'll be able to get Yorvo down on turn 2, as long as the Llanowar Elves stick around. And then we'll hope to draw into some enchantment removal for Isika, who is usually played as the Prismatic Bridge. So we'll try it. Draw Railway Brawler. That'll be good to play before something like Elder Gargaroth, because Elder Gargaroth as a 10/10, 12/12 I mean, would be pretty good. Opponent holding priority. They don't have open mana, so they could have Pact of Negation. Oh, it was Once Upon a Time. Emerald Medallion. Well, we're going to play Yorvo here. And even if we don't draw a land, we can still play an Arcane Signet and either Crunch Wrangler or Emerald Medallion. Opponent ramps with Altar of the Pantheon. I think we do draw land. Most efficient play would be Guardian Project. I could also plot Railway Brawler. I think we'll get Guardian Project down. So Alter the Pantheon. Prismatic Bridge is indeed a legendary enchantment, so if they have Prismatic Bridge in play, they gain a life when they tap Altar of the Pantheon for mana. And then I think we'll play Arcane Signet Emerald Medallion next turn. And if we draw a land, opponent ramps with Growth from the Ashes, with Kicker. They can play Prismatic Bridge next turn, so we do draw land. And then we can play Arcane Signet, Emerald Medallion, and Crunch Wrangler. And then I think we don't need to tap Llanowar Elves, so we can attack with them. And we'll do this first main to pump Yorvo. Alright, so opponent can play Prismatic Bridge. I haven't drawn artifact or enchantment removal. Opponent plays Farewell. That's obnoxious. On the bright side, they didn't want to get rid of their enchantment, so I keep Arcane Signet and Emerald Medallion. And then I have 6. I don't get a discount for plot with Emerald Medallion. So I guess I should have played Memorial to Unity since I can only play one card anyway. Might as well just play the Railway Brawler. There's not really any need to plot it. Alright, so now I definitely want to draw artifact or enchantment removal. That is not artifact or enchantment removal. The opponent can activate Golos, which they do. And that's good enough. Alright, I will very happy to win this one. On we go. On the play, I've got turn 2 Yorvo. I could also play Arcane Signet and Sculptor Winter on turn 2. But I think I like getting Yorvo down so that he picks up a counter from when I play Sculptor Winter. Garruk's Harbinger. We'll get Yorvo down. Opponent plays Mox Amber and Baird, so they do have a legendary creature to go with Mox Amber. And then Baird synergizes with Tajik, which they can play next turn with a land. So we can play Arcane Signet and Garruk's Harbinger. And we'll do that to pump up Yorvo. Alright, there's land 4 for opponent, and there's Tajik. The Boros Recruit has to attack. Okay. So we've got 6 mana. So I can't quite play Sculptor of Winter and a 5-drop. Garrick's Harbinger doesn't have good attack because they can block with Tajik and the 1/1 Soldier. We'll play O'Hare Kozlov to pump Yorvo, who can attack. Now we'll need to find some way to give our creatures trample here, because otherwise the opponent can just keep jumping with the 1/1s they get from Baird. Opponent plays Patchwork Banner, name Soldier, and they have Ossification for O'Hare Kozlov. No blocks. So maybe I should have played Battle Mammoth, because then I would have at least drawn a card when opponent played Ossification. Do I have an attack with Yorvo? Not really, because opponent can just chump with the Soldier. So I really need to draw some way to give my creatures trample. I'm going to draw a land. Alright. And then, what are they making next turn with 4/+1/+1 counters on Tajik? Spark Trooper. Trample Lifelink Haste, 1/1. It's a soldier, so it's buffed by Patchwork Banner, so it's a 7/2. So I can block it with Sculptor of Winter, still take 5. Six, 7, 8, 13. So I think I'm pretty much dead here. His opponent can basically attack with everyone. Okay, now I'm definitely dead because Bazooket puts +1/+1 counters on a flying creature.
Still guide me. I will guard your advance.
So unfortunately, despite our fast start, we drew a few too many lands and we didn't have removal when we needed it. I mean, I can block the Spark Trooper with Yorvo. We're still taking 6, 7, 8, 9. that's a trait. Now we're taking another 3, so we're going down to 2. I don't know why Thunder can just attack with everyone. No, never mind, I miscounted. We're dead. Oh, you know what, I forgot about the soldier token. I should have blocked that. Well, we would have probably died eventually. We just weren't drawing any action, and opponent's creatures were getting too big. Oh well. On we go. On the draw, I think this hand is a little too slow. Our first play is either to foretell Battle Mammoth, or if opponent plays an artifact or enchantment early, blow it up with Bear Down. We've no ramp. I think we can do better. We'll try something else. Alright. Our creatures are pretty expensive, but we've got ramp. And Yorvo will hopefully be able to hold off a Neem Pakal. Alright, and we have a turn 1 play. With the Adventurer off Lovestruck Beast. Primeval Titan. And then I think we'll play Into the North here. And the next turn we can play Wolf Willow Haven and Yorvo. There's an Pakal, who picks up a +1/+1 counter. Elysian Caryatid. We still play Wolf Willow Haven here. Because I can tap that for mana. And I don't have an attack with the 1/1, of course. And then if we hit a land, an untapped land, although I think we only have one land that comes into play tap right now. Okay, we can block Etching of Kumano. I don't think I want to trade the 1/1 because I want it. I guess I can because I've got Caryatid that can allow Lovestruck Beast to attack or block. But I might want the token as a potential attacker for an Alpha Strike. Alright, Blizzard Brawl. Oh yeah, with Castle Garenbrig, we can ramp into Primeval Titan. So I think that's our play. And we'll play that first main to pump Yorvo. And then what to search up? Let's get Wanderer's Enclave and Nykthos. Alright, so there goes our 1/1. So I guess we should have blocked with it after all. opponent ramps with Arcane Signets. Caretaker's Talent, that's good with all of the tokens. They draw a card off Caretaker's Talent. I don't know why they didn't just attack with the other 1/1s. I guess they're going to use them to chump Yorvo. Garrick's Uprising, eh? So I think Elysian Caryatid is a bit of a liability here. And then Galta. Actually, let's get Gate to Manorborn, Memorial to Unity. And opponent gives up. Alright. Well, ramping out Primeval Titan probably is what won us that game, because we were able to get Nick those Shrine to Nyx, and then get play Zopandrel and Galta all, and Garrick's Uprising all in the same turn. Alright, on we go. On the play, Bonder's Enclave is a bit awkward since I can't cast Yorvo with it. I think we look for a hand with some artifact and enchantment removal, or at least some ramp. Now I only have 2 lands, but I do have some card draw. I don't think I want to go down to 6, so we'll keep this. But being on the play with only 2 lands could be a problem. Fortunately, we do draw land number 3. And it is a forest, so we can also play Yorvo. There's Sithis. Draw land number 4. Let's get Yorvo down. So, opponent could have made Sithis a 2/3 if they played Glyph Elemental before playing their land. And then I think we plot Railway Brawler this turn, and the next turn play Guardian Project, play Railway Brawler. Alright, so now opponent plays land 4. Alright, we hit a land. Don't have attacks. Okay. So we can play Primeval Titan. Still don't have attacks. But if we don't lose any creatures, if we get Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, we should be able to play the Trask next turn as a 20/20 with haste and ward 10, and then it'll fight Sithis. And then I'll also get Castle Garenbrig. No attacks. Argoth comes into play untapped as long as I still control Yorvo. Alright. That's actually fine, because Primeval Titan is still on the battlefield for Nykthos. Opponents tapped out. They are at 20. Draw land. Alright, opponent is still taking 14, over 20 points of damage, so I think this is lethal. Alright, that was close. Opponent definitely went off with Sithis, as every Sithis deck does. But fortunately, they didn't interact enough with our game plan to disrupt it, so that we were able to get down the Trask and win the game. So that's our Yorvo deck. There are definitely, like I said in a previous game, some changes you could consider making. You could put Thorn Mammoth in as more removal, and it also is another big creature to synergize with the theme of the deck. You could also consider a card like Shadow Spear, which is an equipment that gives lifelink and trample. That would have helped, for example, in the game against Tajik, because it has an ability to remove hexproof and indestructible from opposing creatures, so we could have attacked past Tajik and given Yorvo trample. So that's a potential change you could make. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how things went. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you thought I should have made any different plays, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a different commander from Throne of Eldraine or a commander from a different set altogether. Hope you enjoyed, and have a good one. Bye.